Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, The Difference is Life, where we are talking about all things pregnancy center stories. Today, I am so honored and thrilled to be joined by Courtney, who is going to be sharing a bit of her story with us today, which is just so beautiful and powerful, and just how the center really impacted her life and her story. So, Courtney, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Before we dive into your past story of your child, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to now?
Yeah, so my name is Courtney. I was born in Orlando. I have two daughters, one who is almost 12 and the other one who just turned 2. So I like hanging out with them. I work full-time for Seminole County, and I have a boyfriend. We've been together. We just celebrated 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so we like to just like go to concerts, listen to music, kind of just hang out. You know, typical stuff, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have a pretty big age gap between your daughters. So can you take us back to that moment? How old were you when you found out you're pregnant with your second?
So I was 39. I had her on my 40th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that like, finding out that you were pregnant at 39?
A shock. It was definitely a shock. Was not trying. I had actually been on birth control for a very long time, and I actually got pregnant both times when I got off of birth control.
Oh, wow.
But like the first time I didn't know, like, I know it sounds like really sad, but I didn't really know about like ovulation and like the times of like when not to like have sex and all of that, you know. And so like this next time I was like, okay, my boyfriend moved. This is a perfect opportunity to like get on an app and just like track it, because I just kind of wanted to like get rid of all of the hormones that I've been putting through, you know, my body through. And so I was like tracking, and I was being smart about it, as you know, I thought, but yeah, that didn't end up working out. So when I missed my period, I FaceTimed my boyfriend who was living in Minneapolis and was like, hey, you know, like, I'm pregnant. So I don't know. It was like nothing, you know. It was hard because I was more concerned and scared than I was happy. And so that, like, I don't know, that was like disappointing.
Yeah.
I never know what it feels like to be like, oh my God, I'm having a baby. I'm so excited. You know, like I see other women go through. It's more of like, okay, like, what are we going to do? We're living in different states. Like, I already have an older child. We have no plans. Like, we weren't dating with intent. We weren't like, hey, we're gonna get married and have kids. So it was it was definitely like, what steps do we take now?
What was his feelings or initial reaction?
I think he was also, I think, surprised, but I just know he wasn't ready. Like, he was not ready to be a dad. He had no intention on being, like, neither one of us were like, yeah, we want to have kids. That wasn't like what our plan was in life. It just happened to be that I ended up getting pregnant 2 different times, and then decided to keep the children and become a mom. So I mean, he was definitely surprised, but ultimately he did end up moving, like leaving that job and then coming back down, and you know, he's been back in Florida and he's been helping me raise our daughter. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. And so how did you find out about the pregnancy center? Like, what did that look like?
I think a while ago, I think that somebody had told me, like, oh, if you ever do get pregnant, there's a center that you can go to, and they will give you free testing to like confirm the possible pregnancy, and then you can also do like a limited ultrasound to like see the baby and all of that. So I always like remember that, and I live in Sanford, so like I drive by here pretty frequently. And so that was kind of like my first thought was, okay, I did a home pregnancy test, but now I want to actually confirm with a place to make sure that I am pregnant. And then obviously like having it as a free resource was kind of, you know, and it's convenient to go to, and you can just like make an appointment and come in here, and it was private, and you know, so, and then of course having like the women here that were like a support system after you find out that you're pregnant, it kind of just, it had a lot of things that I guess were appealing to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and but when you came in originally, were you planning to, you were telling me earlier, like, were you planning to, like, come in and have the ultrasound and keep the child, or what were your initial feelings?
I think I was very on the fence, back and forth. I think it was like, okay, I'm gonna come confirm, but I kept asking my boyfriend, like, what should we do? Should we keep it? Like, we've been together 2 years. Like, do you see a future with me? And he said, yeah, he saw a future, but we were just like not in a place to have a child. That we just were not. We just weren't ready, And so, I think initially it was like, okay, well, I'm going to just put appointment in place for like a possible abortion, but like the more like research I did and the more like I sat with it, I just like couldn't bring myself to do it. And I've always considered myself very pro-choice, and I always thought like, oh, because I started having sex early, so it was like when I was younger, like, oh, if I got pregnant I could never have a child in high school, like I would abort it, and then it's like I couldn't give my child up for adoption, I don't think, because I think once I go through that whole process I feel like, oh, I'm gonna keep the baby, so it was just kind of like I was just going back and forth. And then I came in here, I talked with Cindy, who works at the Sanford location, and I was telling her all of like my concerns and everything that like I was going through at the time, and she just said, well, like, it's ultimately your choice, and we don't promote abortion here. We can give you like resources if that's the route that you want to go, but she just said like, do you want to come back and like make an appointment for an ultrasound? And I said, yeah, like I'll come back and look. And so like once I came back and like I saw the little baby in there, I was just like, oh, I can't do it, like so yeah, I think that's kind of like when I decided like, okay, I'm going to keep the baby. And also too, like when I was 29 I got pregnant with my first daughter, and I was like, well, I have a house and I own a car and I have 2 jobs and I'm about to graduate college. And so like, I just felt like I need to be responsible, even though like I didn't know what I was going to be doing, because I had no experience with kids. I didn't have any plans to have any. And so it was kind of like the same thing this time. I already had 1 child and kept that baby, so I feel like I need to do the same thing this time and just be responsible for like the decisions that I make.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cindy is amazing.
Yeah, she is really amazing.
I'm gonna miss her here. I know. Cindy's one of our volunteers, if you guys don't know, and she is just amazing, but she's retiring as her time as a volunteer. So did you have any support other than your boyfriend, who at the time was living in Minneapolis, but did you have any support other than him during that time when you found out you were pregnant?
I have my mom. She lives in Sarasota, so I don't get to see her as much as I would like to, but I did call her, and then she was like, it's funny, I had this feeling that you were going to have another baby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so of course she was very, much like, well, I would love for you to keep it, but, again, it's your decision, so, do what you want to do. And then coming here, I think, and having the support of the different women, and that helped. And yeah, my boyfriend definitely, as much as we were both shocked, he was trying to support me in the best way that he could do that. And, I have really close friends that were also supportive. I have a best friend who, she has 4 children now. She lives in Tampa, and I ended up telling her I was pregnant when we have like a vacation that we do every year together. And she was also pregnant at the time. She ended up having her 4th one like a few months before I had my daughter. Wow. So she was just like shocked. And then so it was kind of nice to have her there, as well as one of my boyfriend's friends was having her first child. And so we just kind of like supported each other the whole time through the pregnancy, and would just check on each other and just, be a friend.
Yeah, it's so good to have people who like understand what you're going through. Yeah. Other than like, because single people don't know like what it's like to be pregnant. So to have friends like that, that's awesome that you had that at the time. That's awesome. During your pregnancy, you found out that your daughter would need surgery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like?
That was a really hard day because I was older, when I got pregnant, and my primary told me, oh, you should see a maternal fetal medicine doctor, and just because they can see other things that we can't. And so I had already went to see that doctor one time, and so this was the second time that I was seeing him, and this was the first appointment that my boyfriend was at after moving back, and we were having our big gender reveal on that weekend, and so we just found out that that she had a congenital heart defect. So they just said she's going to need multiple surgeries, and it's a pretty serious condition, and it was just it was hard to celebrate. It was hard to go into that weekend knowing that not only, are we having a child and the stress of it and everything that comes with it, but now she's going to possibly not have a normal life. She would need surgeries, and she might be in and out of the hospital. And then with that, they were concerned with, okay, well, she could have other genetic disabilities, she could have Down syndrome or something like that. So we weren't really sure what we were going to expect. And I know for my boyfriend, it was hard for him because we didn't know if she was actually going to make it. So it's how do you celebrate and do all the normal pregnancy things when you just don't know what the outcome is going to be. So that was tough, to be oh yeah, now we find out, okay, we're having a girl, but also no, we don't know what's gonna happen with her.
So from finding out till when she was actually born and you got to see her, what was able to help? What support did you find, or emotionally, how was that time?
I don't know. It was stressful. I'm being honest. It was a hard pregnancy. It was a lot, what you would think is, a normal amount, because I had an older daughter, and so it was the normal amount of visits. So this one was double, I'm going to see a cardiologist. I'm going to see my, primary. I'm going to see my, the maternal fetal. It was just a lot. It was, and so I would say, my work was super understanding about it, because once I told them that I was pregnant, and then I told about the condition, anytime I need to go to an appointment, they were very understanding about it. They worked with me. I was able to flex my time. But yeah, it was, I will say we got blessed with amazing network through Orlando Health, my midwife, the maternal fetal medicine doctor, to the Arnold Palmer surgeons that we ended up meeting with that helped do the surgery for our daughter, and all the nurses that helped take care of her. So we ended up having a good support system, and we had a plan in place. So we already knew what kind of was going to be done as soon as she was going to be born. So it wasn't she came out and then they're oh my gosh, she has this, and we're what? Having to figure it out. So that was kind of helpful to have a plan. But again, it was great, but also unfortunate.
Yeah. That's a lot to have to walk through, and from parking in the appointment and then going in and finding that out, that's completely different mindset and perspective change of everything.
For sure. And then I felt so bad for my boyfriend, because it was it's our first visit, and then he's what? And then where all the questions are, well, why did this happen, and is this something from us, did we do something, and the doctors were no, it just happens. So
that is good though that he was able, obviously it's very hard, but able to kind of support you and be there to hear that firsthand,
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that he was there, because I definitely broke down. He had to console me quite a bit that day.
Oh, good. Glad he was there.
Me too.
So, how is your daughter doing today?
She's doing amazing. Thank you for asking. We just had her second birthday party in October, and she's doing really good. She had 2 surgeries before she turned 1. So she had the first one at 5 months old, and she was in there for about 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, because when she was born, she was in the NICU for a week and a half. So I just stayed at the hospital. I did not leave. Luckily I had help with my older one.
Good.
But I stayed there with her, and then her dad, he would leave and come back at night, that kind of thing. And then when we got a room, we were able to all stay together. So we literally just stayed at the hospital with her. And and then she's had a couple surgeries, and she has the scars and all of that, but she's done so well. Even from when she first was born, we were really surprised at how well she was recovering and doing. And now she's just like a typical 2-year-old toddler, going through all the things. She's super funny and smart, and she's at daycare now. So she's kind of been figuring that lifestyle out and learning from being in the school environment. But she's doing really, really well. We just see her cardiologist every 6 months. And then, there are plans to have another surgery when she's a little bit older, but we're allowed to put her in sports. She can, do the typical kid stuff. So eventually my boyfriend wants to sign her up for soccer. So she'll be doing that. But she's got a lot of energy, she's great though.
Aww.
Yeah.
And does she get along with your oldest?
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, my oldest was like, meh, it was definitely hard because for me and my older one, it was always just kind of us, and then my boyfriend in the picture, then he was there more, and then I had a baby, and the age gap is like, I'm sure she didn't show it or like really say it, but I'm sure it was difficult because it went from just she and I to now 4 people spending a lot of time together. And you know how it is, like with a newborn, a lot of it, they need you all the time. So she kind of just like, she wasn't really that interested, I think. But now that, she's my youngest one, Charlotte, is a little bit older, they play together. They're more involved. And so I love watching the bond. It's just super sweet. Like, I love it.
That's so sweet. That's awesome. So thinking back to that moment when you found out that you were initially pregnant, but what would you say to the older Courtney at that moment when you first found out?
When I first found out I was pregnant?
Yeah.
I guess just to like maybe not be as scared, It's like I've learned from the 10-year difference when I was 29, finding out I was pregnant. I was like, man, what do I do? Like, I have no idea, And like as I got older now, I'm embracing a little bit more. I'm enjoying the baby stage a little bit more, where before I was like, I can't wait till she's more independent. She can like make her own food and clean herself. It's just like constantly being needed. And now I'm like, I'm okay being needed. It feels good, So I think like the older me has tried to just embrace every stage instead of just wanting to like skip over maybe the more difficult times, where they just cry all the time because they don't know how to form sentences yet and tell you what they need. And so I think the older ones, I'm trying to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think it would look like if you had never come to the pregnancy center?
I don't know. I don't want to say that I might have went forward with the abortion because I didn't have that support when I made that decision the first time, but I do feel like it made it a lot easier to know that I had, even them being strangers, as like carrying people here that, again, I didn't feel pushed in one way or another to keep the baby, but I think just having somebody being able to relate to you, and I'm sure she's heard plenty of stories just like mine, and so she understands where I was and like how I was feeling and just being, completely scared of the situation. Yeah. So I think just having the support, being able to do the online learnings that you guys offer, because even though I'm not a first-time mom, it's good to have the refresh, and then to be able to come in here and use those points and shop. Like, we've been able to get our car seats here, a jogging stroller, pack and plays. Like, I come every couple weeks, and I'm able to get some diapers because now she's at daycare, so they're requiring them all the time. It's a lot more, and wipes and stuff. And so just having the support has made it a little bit easier to become a parent, because being a parent is expensive
Yes.
and it's hard.
Yes.
It's definitely hard. And especially if you don't have the support, it's a lot more scarier. So I think it's been I think it's just been helpful overall to have the pregnancy center.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So looking, let's say there's another woman who's in a similar situation, either finding out that she's pregnant older or it's an unplanned pregnancy. After going through this with Charlotte, what would you say to her now?
I think that obviously having an unplanned pregnancy is a super scary thing. And, but there are people out there that want to help. Mm-hmm. And places like the pregnancy center that offer free resources is a great way to start. I can just only speak personally that even though I was never planning on being a parent, I didn't have that calling to be a mother. I think that ultimately I made the right decision for myself, because every time I look at my daughters, I feel like, even though from pregnancy to birth and beyond, it has been difficult and was a difficult journey, I watched them grow, and I'm super proud that I'm their mom, and that, that I'm just able to experience being a mother.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like, even though it's scary, just like reach out. There are people that are willing to help, whether it's, books that you can read or podcasts that you can listen to, or, places that you can go to. There's going to be someone out there that can help.
That's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Of
course. You guys, your support really makes our center run, both centers, and helps women just like Courtney in so many different situations. Know that your prayers, your support, your monetary, or if it's diapers or whatever it is, it really just keeps this place running. We could not do what we do without you. So we are so thankful for your constant support, and so thankful for you, Courtney, for sharing part of your story.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course. And we will see you guys next time.